Good evening or late afternoon. Uh, just give me a few moments here. You're going to hear this background noise because I'm so close to the streets. And let me check this. All right. So good Monday, December 1st, the first day of the last month of the year, 12/1/25. It has been an amazing journey. It is an amazing journey. Um, we've gone through the process of life, and we're at the end of the year. We're embarking on the new, a brand new year, according to our Gregorian calendar. And so I wanted to just say that I'm trying to do better with doing my videos. It has been, somewhat difficult for me to be consistent, but I am here. Just one moment. Let me get these items out the way. So, anyways, I just wanted to say welcome to Battles and Journeys, where we talk about my battles and my journeys, and also we talk about how every passport has been stamped, getting your passport stamped, and we've all had a lot of luggage that's going through customs, right? Emotional luggage. We've gone through quite a bit. And so I'm grateful to be alive. I am so thankful that I have had this opportunity to, excuse me, I've had this opportunity to be alive. And I'm so grateful. Just one moment here. I do apologize. I can't be on long. There we go. And so I've had this wonderful opportunity to be alive. I am so grateful. I am happy to be where I am today in my life. I'm very happy. I'm very pleased with my life. I want to grow even more next year. I'm already doing some things to make sure that my life is advanced. And I just want to make sure I'm in constant movement. You got to stay moving. If not, you'll get stuck and perhaps maybe not get unstuck. But I want to talk about something because, listen, every family has a feud. Every family has some type of feuds going on, whether it's over uh, who's going to get this, that, and the other when a person leaves, and who's going to and who is against this one, and y'all want all of us to be against that one because you're against that one. They got all types of feuds. And I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about the feud that my family is having right at this moment. Now, those of you that know, I've posted a few things about what's going on in my family and how my folks are fighting me, and my kin folks are fighting uh, literally for no reason at all. But let's really talk about it because I think it's important to talk about. So let me give you a little history. I am the baby of eight. My mother had seven boys and one girl. I have a sister who is the oldest, and everybody else comes under her. I think she'll be 69 or 70 this coming January the 5th, and mine is the day after. And so, I must stay 19. And so, um, our beautiful mother raised all of us by herself on farms. Like she was literally working in farmlands. Nothing, my mother was born in 30 in the 30s, 1930 something. And she had me, I think she was probably about 35, 36, possibly 37 when she had me. So I am the late baby. So everybody has had their experiences with her. We got her at different times. And I'm so appreciative. I'm telling you, I wouldn't want another mother uh, other than her. I'm so glad that the Creator chose her to be my mom. And so she's been gone now. January will be whew, 9 years. 9 years. And I tell you, there's not a day go by that I don't think about her. I think about her every day and sometimes several times throughout the day because I really believe, because I carry her DNA, that she's with me. So, whatever your belief system is, it is that. But I want to talk about this family feud that I'm having right now, um, all because, let me just say this. So, I have 7 other siblings. Some of you have seen me and my other brother travel together, uh, as they would call it, the knee baby. I call him the number 7 and I'm number 8. I relate to us as number 7, number 8. We're traveling, and so we travel, and we're going. I'm looking forward to our next set of traveling next year if God spares our life. If He spare my life and His life, we're going to do some more traveling. I want to do more of do some Asia, some traveling throughout Asia, and so He's been traveling with me. So I'm right now. I am experiencing something that no one would have ever told me 30 years ago that I would be experiencing with these people, my kinfolks, the people that we got the same blood, um, uh, that we grew up in the same house at different times. Nobody would have been able to tell me that this fight would be what it is today. And I'm going to tell you how we got here and who's behind the fight. So I have one sister, the oldest, but then I got one. Then there was the oldest brother, not the oldest sibling, Leroy Battles, the oldest brother, who is now, I guess, I found out later, much later, that in his time, he was made to feel that he knew, you know, no doubt was knowledgeable, but you know how sometimes everybody maybe was the go-to person and they go to them, that particular person, to ask for instructions or ideas or get their thoughts. And I think from what I hear from other family members that were coming up during that time, everybody made him feel like he was the it, like he was, yeah, go to him, go to Leroy, da 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 da. And so he grew up with this thing that I'm to be looked up to. And so, and it's okay to want to be looked up to, but also you have to be a look up to kind of guy or person. You have to be that person that is so morally fit and uh, operate from a place of authenticity. And it's easy for people to come to you when they know that you are that way. So sometimes, I guess, growing up, um, when someone feels like everybody should look up to them, and they grow up sometimes with this narcissistic mentality, narcissism, wherein um, they think they should be over everybody. And I remember a time when this eldest brother was saying he was the oldest. Well, he's not the oldest, because I got a sister, or who we disregard by saying I'm the oldest. And at one point, you know, called her a B, And so uh, at, at some point, you have to see this narcissistic being, or this narcissism developing and growing. And I did not know that. I didn't have a terminology for it. I didn't know the term for it. But I did not know until I got much, 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 much older how these individuals can be. So growing up, from what I hear from my other siblings, that he was the bully of the family, and he bullied them. I guess the ones that would allow him to bully them. And so he grew up with this whole mentality that if it's not about me, I'm going to bully. If I can't bully you, I'm going to try to set up camp against you and see how I can destroy you. I know that mentality. I grew up in the church, so I've seen that type of mentality in the church. And in that system, it is, if you don't agree with me and you don't side with me, then I'm going to make war with you. And then on top of that, he's ex-military. And I think there's some psychological things that come with people that's been in the military, especially if you didn't get counseling after you got out of the military, retired from the military, blase, blase, blase. And so here we are. And then everybody shows up, and then boom, I show up, right? I'm the baby. I think parents sometimes can have, let me say this, I believe parents have a different connection with every child. I don't believe you can have the same type of connection with on the same level with every single child. If you got 8 children, you got 8 personalities you're dealing with, and you have a different connection. So fast forward, um, I'm the baby. Some seem to think I was spoiled, but I think I spoiled my mother, especially at the end. Um, I'm the baby, and so I've always been in the church. We grew up in church, but as I got older, in my early teens, I started going to church on my own. I wanted to go. It gave me something to do. It gave me something to do with other young people, and then I just sort of matriculated from there. And then I started traveling. I was singing and blah 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 when I was younger. So this connection that has always been this, again, let me say this, my mother was connected to all of our children in a different way. I'm the youngest, I am the baby. God broke the mold after I came. And so actually my mother, I told my mother, I said, why didn't you have any other children after me? She said, I did. They were they were miscarriages. I think she had 3 after me. And so, or 2 or 3, I can't remember. But anyways, I have to say, some of the brothers now are still traumatized, especially my brother Leonard, traumatized because he shared with me himself. These are conversations he and I we've had about how Leroy Battles would bully him his whole life, bullied him, make him do things, ran to the store, bullied him, beat him, just bully, 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 bully. And now he's now in his 60s. I think he just turned 61. And he is still being bullied by this eldest brother. And now let me give you a little backdrop on this. I believe this is personally because this is conversations he and I have had growing up, because he did not look like any of his siblings. I tend to believe he looked like my mother's side of the family and looked like my uncles. Um, but he also shared, coming up, he would hear the daddy said, that's not my boy, because he didn't look like any of the children. And he grew up hearing this from his daddy saying, that is not my boy. That is not my child. And then my mother would say, that boy, man, that is your child. But he looked like my mother's side of the family. Well, needless to say, at 61, he is still being bullied by his eldest brother. Now, I said that to say this. He didn't look like any of us at all. Um, but then lately, he started changing his form, lost weight. I think he pulled completely away from meats, and I sort of got my family on a track of holistic living. For years, I would bring things to them from Atlanta. I mean, stuff that really helps your health. I even did it for my mother, and even though sometimes she didn't use it, she put it in the freezer and told me she used it, and then I found out, listen, I'm doing all this for your health. And so, anyways, I want to share that. Then he started looking like my oldest brother, growing his hair like him, wearing big hats like him, and being accepted by him now. It makes him feel like he's a part of something, because all of these years he felt like he was not a part of. I mean, also felt like Arthur got away with things that my other brother got away with things. They used to fight when they were younger. Uh, got away with things that my mother wouldn't allow Leonard to get away with, and kind of grew up with that hatred, I would say, towards him or against him, and then maybe some type of ill feeling towards our mother, because Anytime a child feels like, oh, you let this one get away with everything and you don't let me get away with nothing. Well, this one, uh, Leonard was the one with the attitude and punching holes in the walls, and he was challenging to deal with, from my understanding, listening to my other siblings. So sort of grew up disliking that situation, and also had a dislike for years towards my brother Arthur because of that. And this is what happens when you don't get counseling and when you don't get some type of treatment or go through that process and heal and do the inner work inside. You'll grow up holding, as an adult, childhood issues and how you felt as a child because you couldn't express yourself. He did express himself through some violence of punching holes in my mother's wall, all of that, blase, blase, blase. Also, he went to the military, got kicked out of the military with a dishonorable discharge because of his attitude and his temper. And so, but he never took that attitude with our oldest brother. But he was so willing to fit in, and now finally feeling accepted by this oldest brother. Now he's doing our oldest brother's bidding. So we have this house that I renovated uh, not long ago. Some of you probably saw some of the pictures on there. Um, but prior to that, there was a tenant there called a Bang Bang, right? So you could just gather from that name. Ended up having to evict this tenant for non-payment for about 5 months of non-payment. Well, my brother Leonard got connected, and I'm gonna tell you how he got to that house because they started going over there because I asked him if he knew anybody that could do a faucet for a sink because he was connected to people that did little handiwork. And he says to me, "Oh, I can do it if you pay me." That's when my first red flag came up, but I understood why he wanted to go. We don't charge each other for things; we just do it, right? So I knew that was a way of him getting in there so he can connect and have conversations, so he can share information back to the oldest brother who lives in Homestead, the eldest brother. But I knew that's what it was. He didn't know I knew, but I knew that's why he did what he did because he wanted to get in and start talking to them, and then eventually start showing up on Taco Tuesdays with her. And so I'm fast forwarding. This is my tenant um, that I ended up evicting after 5 months of non-payment. Also, I found out that this tenant was sharing with my brother Leonard, and that if I put her out, that she was going to set the house ablaze. And so, I mean, what do you do with a tenant that won't pay rent for 5 months? And so, this brother told everybody what this lady's plans were. Now, mind you, this is the house we grew up in. Our mother had this house. I owned 50%. My eldest brother owned 50%. And before I rented it, I told him, I said, listen, we could rent the house and we could share the whatever the amount we agreed on, we could share it. And so his response to me, I hope he can still stick to his statement because I always got evidence, was I don't need any more money. I got enough money. Okay, well, I'm gonna rent the house out. So, anyways, with my brother Leonard sharing all this information with him about what the tenant said, and but let me just back up because he's always been that brother that can't hold anything. He's a talker, and if you say something to him today, and by the time he leaves your presence, he has already shared what you have shared with him. He's never been a keeper. Like he can't won't keep. Uh, I won't say secrets because he's got a few of his own. He won't keep your. It just he's not confidential. Like you can't. You don't have any. There's no confidentiality when it comes to having conversations with him, and it's unfortunate because as a man, as an adult, you want people to be able to confide in you. But if you tell everything somebody is saying or has said, then that creates a trust issue. And so, but always known this about this particular brother. And so, for a person who talks so much and tell everything, and then he wouldn't tell me the possibilities of what this lady was going to do to this house, but he told my brother Leroy, he told my sister, he told my other brothers, he told my aunt, who's all into this stuff too, but he didn't tell me. And but her boyfriend told me. And so, anyways, I was prepared for whatever I needed to be prepared for, not because my blood brother told me. This blood brother kept me out of the loop for a reason, right? Because his loyalty and his connection is to this eldest brother, and so they were basically sitting back, waiting for destruction of this house because they wanted to be able to say, under my watch, it failed. They always having conversations almost every day, and I knew it. They thought the house was going to be lost to taxes. They thought the house was going to go down and go up in flames. And then the eviction came. And this brother runs over there. I was not there, but I had it all set up. The eviction people came and did what they needed to do. And this brother, Leonard, unfortunately came through to see the damage so he could give the report back to our eldest brother, of course, via phone, pictures, videos, whatever, etc., 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 etc. And so when I got there, I started doing some things to the house, and then I had some contractors to come in. And this is where it gets, and I'm not going to be able to finish this, but this is where things started happening. Because you have a group of people that say they're family, sitting back waiting for your destruction or something that you are over or you have dealings with, sitting back, not saying anything to me, but to everybody else, but not saying anything to me. And I was never in the dark. I was not in the dark because my kin folks told me. They withheld it from me, hoping that they'll be able to say, see, da 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 da. It's yes, your tenant. So, anyways, I started doing some changes to the home. I started upgrading the home, removed all the carpet, had the bathroom all renovated. I mean, just redone all over again. Um, and so one day, um, back up. Before I started all of that, um, I my brother and his wife was over, and she happened to tell me that I come over and get my hair done and da 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 da. I said, what? These are tenants. Like, why y'all? I'm thinking to myself, why y'all doing all this with my tenant, right? But I knew from the beginning why my brother Leonard wanted to get in cahoots with the tenant so he can spill all the information he could to that eldest brother. And they knew about everything. So when she told me, she said, yeah, she said she was going to do this and do that. I said, she said that to my brother and he didn't tell me anything. So she goes outside, sit with him, and I go out, of course. And I said, hey, Leonard, so this lady told you all these damages she was going to do, burn this house down, she was going to leave it in flame. And she said it to you? Yeah. But, I know that lady is crazy. No. You said it. She said it to you because she felt comfortable because y'all have had conversations about me because there's no way in the world that an outsider or a stranger going to talk about my folks to me about the house our mother had built and we grew up in this house. So Automatically my mind said, okay, so she's comfortable with talking to him about me because he has also talked about me to her, and they in this whole cahoots, blase, 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 blase. So, anyways, they moved on. The next day, um, I had a whole group of people in the yard painting the house. Boom, boom. The house turned from purple to charcoal gray. And my brother showed up. He was riding by and saw it, backed up, came back. Now, he didn't do all of this around me, but he said it to a family member. He touches the house and said, "This house been painted?" Yeah, it's been painted. It was purple. It was purple. It's charcoal gray. Then start making little slick things, stuff like, well, somebody must be got some money. So at all that whole transitioning, they were wondering how in the world that a house went from that to this, and they were sitting back waiting and having conversations and plotting and hoping that something bad happened to this house that we all grew up in. You got to think about that. And so I got the house painted, charcoal gray, trimmed in gray, red doors, carport painted with the concrete paint. The house looked like a brand. It just looked new. That bathroom changed drastically, dramatically. It was a lot of changes done. Put new floors down throughout the entire home. It looked different, right? So can you imagine the anger of a group of people that was sitting back once waiting for this house to be demolished, and all of a sudden it's being restored, upgraded. It's adding value to the house. That's what I did. Added value to that house. I bettered the house. And so now we come to the point where I'm finished with everything but putting maybe the bathroom mirror up. So my sister wanted to come by, according to my brother Nate, said, "Hey, we want to come by. She want to see the house." Well, they saw it on Facebook. She's one of the ones. She was part of this whole always sitting back waiting, whatever, whatever. So, anyways, she came by, rushing through the house, saying, "Show me through the house." I said, "There's no reason for me to walk you through this house. This is the house we grew up in. It just looked different, but everything is still same amount of bedrooms, same place go." Bathroom was amazing. A lot of just amazing. So she gets outdoors. When she come back out, and we come back outside, I asked her, I said, "How did you like the house?" And she, "Oh, beautiful. Oh, God, no, God gave you a gift." Now, I already know the conversations that has been had. Right. And so, me with my dramatic self, I should be on somebody's TV show. I said, "Yeah, and this is the same house that y'all was sitting around waiting for it to be consumed in fire, burned down. And this is the same house that you all thought was going to be lost to taxes." I said, "Has the house been burned down?" No. I said, "There's lost to taxes." No. I said, "You also taxes behind." I said, "But because you kept my brother Leroy checks the taxes, right? Because he wasn't paying no taxes." Now, for somebody to have so much to say about a house that he's never paid taxes on, somebody got so much to say and want to be in control about a house that they have never paid taxes on in years, but wanted to reap the benefits, right? Hoping that when my mother passed, he would have been able to, whatever, whatever. Anyways, so I had this conversation. We get into this discord, this conversation that brought about emotions, even for her. And um, my brother Nate was sitting there. He said, "Well, oh, I thought Leonard was told you what that lady was doing and what she was going to do." I said, "No, he's never told me anything, but he told everybody else but me." So, anyways, make a long story short, we completed our conversation. I said what I needed to say. And a day or so later, I've been wanting to get my brother Leonard there because I wanted them one at a time. I didn't want to get them in a group because I had something different to say to each of them, right? And so the times that I needed to speak with my brother Leonard, my niece was there. My niece was there. And I did not want her to see this kind of conversation going on between her uncles. Didn't want to see that. So I would never talk to him in front of her. So I text him or called him. I said, hey, I need to have a conversation with you. Can you come by the house? It was just me there. So he comes by the house, blase, blase, eventually told me he did such a good job. But it went out of true heart. Yeah, it was a great job, but y'all are the same people that was hoping that this house would crumble because it was under my supervision. Yeah. And so I sat with him. I sat down. I said, hey, I just want to talk to you. And this is where it gets rocky. I said, I need to talk to you about something. I said, that last tenant told you what she was going to do to this house. I said, and you told everybody but me. Because I wanted to know why. I said, why? So he skipped over the conversation. All that later, da 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 da. He skipped over the conversation, started wanting to go somewhere. So I brought it right back because that's my point. My whole meaning for talking to him is I wanted to hear from him why he would not share with me the intent of that tenant, but he shared it with everybody else. I had to ask my brother Leonard at least about 6 times. I said, no, I want to know why you told everybody else. You told Roy, you told Nate, you told Gwen, you told Arthur, you told Gary, you told Aunt Ella. I said, you told everybody but the person that needed to know. Or what were you going to do? Da, 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 da. No. So before we got to that, I started giving examples of why it's important that people that you say you love, if there's a semi truck coming and somebody that you love is standing in the road and the person you love don't see the semi truck coming and you're going to stand there and don't say anything, you don't love that person. You're sitting there waiting for the impact to happen for their demise. When you love people, you warn them of the destruction that you see coming because you know they don't see it, or at least they thought they didn't know. You know they don't see it. Hey, there's a truck coming. Get out the road. But no, tried to avoid all of the questions. And then finally, about the 6th time, he finally rages in anger and said, I didn't tell you because I didn't think you was inclined to know. I said, oh, okay. That's all I needed to know. Because if you say you love me, I know why you didn't tell me because I already knew that my kin folks were sitting around waiting for something bad to happen so they can point fingers. But instead, the house got renovated, upgraded. The value of the house went up because of the upgrades. So, anyways, then he goes on to say, I tell you what, since we're talking about it, let me tell you something else I don't like. I said, have at it, please. Because obviously you've been holding something for so long. I don't know how, because you can't hold anything. You tell everything you know. And you couldn't express to me how you felt. So he listened to our eldest brother Leroy, who was not there for our mother in her latter days. He stayed away, didn't come to the funeral, said he was not coming to the funeral because she loved me so much, and because she loved me so much. And there was another reason he didn't come to the funeral. But unfortunately, this 60-year-old is allowing somebody who bullied him as a child to continue to bully him. And to knowing what type of brother this is, because we've all talked about it, hook and a crook. This is the same brother he said he wouldn't even buy insurance from because he already knew that it was on hooks and crooks, even in that. And so he listened to this brother because that's who controls him. He likes to be controlled. The same brother bullied him. He knows the brother is wrong, but he's still going to play along with it because he don't want the brother to be upset with him. And so he proceeded to say, and another thing, You was mama power of attorney. Okay. And that was her decision. I was her power of attorney. And I proceeded to tell him. He said, and you became a power of attorney when she was under duress. She wasn't in her right mind. She was under medication. And I said, oh, really? And so then I began to explain to him the time that my brother Leroy had caused this ruckus with my brother Earl and went over there to the house on the corner where he owned 100% of, after he caused so much havoc in our family. And my brother Leonard was over there barbecuing after all of this shenanigan went on. I began to tell him, I said, do you remember when I drove down from Atlanta, when all this stuff was happening between our siblings, and mama was sitting on the porch, and you was over there barbecuing for Roy, because it was like y'all was celebrating what just happened to my brother that my eldest brother was involved in. I said, so you remember that day we were sitting on the porch, you was over there barbecuing? Yes. I said, that is when I became mama's power of attorney. That is when my mother put me on those deeds. That is when all of those things took place. I said, we went to an attorney down there by the cable, where the cable place was, and we did the paperwork in front of the attorney. And they asked her several times, are you sure this is what? She said, yes, I want my baby over this. So now that debunks the lie that I became a power of attorney when she was on her sick bed and she was on medication. My mother was sitting on the porch. This is where she got sick, right? And so my mother knew, and she said, I made you my power of attorney because I trust you with my life. I paid attention to the details of her life. And then he proceeds to go on. Wouldn't they not listen? I've debunked it all. And now, after all of that, he brought us a lot of other things that I had to fact check him. But listening to that brother, oldest brother, Leroy, who's been controlling his life and bullying him and has tried to control everybody. I remember when my brother Leroy and his wife divorced, that first wife, he would come around us and try to speak ill of his former wife to turn us against her. But he's always been that person. He'd go and hammer it over and over and say the same story over and over and over and over to try to get you to believe him. So his goal was to turn us against his ex-wife, Marion or Karina. And we wouldn't do that because we knew him. We knew that she wasn't the cheater, that he has always been the cheater. And then this same brother got his babies, his children, and said, see, your mother is a whore. She's a B. And this is why we're not together. What is that to tell your children about their mother? So it shows you the type of person this man is. And he tries to destroy people and try to get people to turn against each other, which is what he tried to do to his children about their mother, and which is what he tried to do to his sibling about his ex-wife. We knew that he was the harlot. He was the hoe. We knew that. It wasn't that woman. That woman loved him. But he tried to make his siblings and his children believe that she was at fault. And it was not at all. So, listen. Anyways, so we're here now. And so this brother decided he would share his portions with the other siblings so that they could run my tenants out. And that's not possible. They went there 6 times trying to run my tenants away in this house. And again, I hope he sticks to his story because anytime you have tenants with a legal contract, and just because your name is on something, you don't have any rights to go, hey, I don't have my glasses on, but looks like Miss Furlow speaks. Yeah, how are you? And now they've been fighting and fighting under the leadership who's pulling the strings is Leroy, right? So Leonard has been to this house. Him and Joe Nathan has been to this house 6 times, really 7. The first time the police wasn't called, but the police was called. eventually, every other time they were called. He came, changed the locks, told them, y'all ain't got no business being here. Y'all need to stop paying rent for 2 months and get out. Now, didn't come to me about anything. Didn't ask me anything. Then the only thing, when I found out, he went to the tenants to tell them that they need to get out, not to pay rent. This is air property, which is not. That's dumb. Uh, not to pay rent for 2 months. Get out, because they ain't got no business being here anyways. I'm great, and so anyway, I'm great. Miss Fertile speaks. Uh, uh, anyways, so we go on and on. Police, 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 police. And then one day, unfortunately, he calls the police on himself. He says, hey, we have a disturbance at this address. Well, he was the disturbance, right? So it's a long story. But I'm going to tell you, after that conversation I had with my brother Leonard, and he got all out of character, the next day, he texts me. I still got the text, apologizing, saying I caught him off guard. And so I keep everything, phone records, voicemails, you name it. Um, so now he's in this fight for his brother, for our oldest brother. And he has to walk out his plans. He made an agreement that he would make sure that he would get the job done. So, anyways, that is the family feud that we're having right now. And so it would be different. So I know what I was about to say. When I found out the first time, I texted him. I said, hey, I'm only texting you for a paper trail. I said, what you are doing is illegal. Not even I can do it. These are my tenants. I can't go there and harass them. There is a law that protects them from the landlord as well, right? And he proceeded to say something else. We just need a key. I didn't even know he was on the deeds, right? But they needed a key so that they can go and disrupt those people's lives. And so I found out that eventually that my brother shared his portion with some of them, and they thought, well, I'm not going to say that. I know what they thought. And so now we're in this this family feud. They're in a family feud. I'm fine. I'm living life over here. I'm living life here. And so they've tried all they could to disrupt the lives of my tenants. And even to the point that they brought in this last time, they brought in Mr. Ken, who's a landlord in Palatka, who owns property. And I heard allegedly he's a slumlord. They showed up to the tenant's house because there was the tag is not right, something that's going on with him. But he shows up with Mr. Ken, him and his wife, and my brother and his girlfriend. Now this is crazy, and I'm tired of talking about it. But they show up with this man named Mr. Ken, who's pretending to be a code enforcer. The tenant then calls me and says, hey, your brothers are out here. Now they can't come back on the property because they would get arrested. Your brothers are out here with some other man saying he's a code enforcer. First of all, code enforcers don't come with your family. That's the first red flag. And so I proceeded to talk to him over the speakerphone, and he proceeds to tell. So I told the tenant, I said, put it under the garage, da, 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 don't worry about it. Then when the guy asked, he was asking for a lease. Wait a minute, you say you're a code enforcer. Second thing, code enforcers don't ask for a lease. I proceeded to talk to Mr. Ken on the speakerphone. I said, man, I've been in real estate for years. I said, what are you asking for a lease for my tenant? And so he said, oh, you're in real estate? Yes. Oh, I teach brokers. I said, oh, you instruct brokers? Another lie. I said, so if you instruct brokers and I'm in real estate, at this point by now, you already know, you and I both know what you're doing is illegal. So Anyways, some other things took place, and then he started lying. Oh, your brother sold that 50% to me. I don't care about that. I said, well, that's a lie because they're control freaks and they're not doing that either. So they showed up again that seventh time, which is made. This is what brought me into these videos because they won't stop harassing the tenants, which is illegal and against the law. You cannot change a lock on a tenant. They're not your tenants, just not. But I can't go and change the locks to keep the tenants out of a house that I am the landlord of. It's against the law. And this whole time he's going through the city. Hell, he did something illegal. Can't find the lease down at the courthouse because you dumb it. You don't record a lease, you record a deed. And it's illegal. He ain't got no business renting this house out. Yes, sir, all you need is one owner to do whatever needs to be done. And so, anyways, all of this jibber jabber, and I was really concerned about my tenants. And so I spoke to authority. I also knew that if my tenants had moved because of them, the harassment, then I could have sued them for the remainder of the lease. That's what they don't know. Without giving too much information, because there's a lot of legalities that I know. So, anyways, this whole fight, and then turned around. He went down to the code enforcers and said, "Yeah, we wanted the tenant to move the car, but it won't move it." That wasn't, no. All of that is a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie. And because he is on the deeds, the lady said, "I told him that you're just as responsible for the fines as anybody." So he called the police on himself. Then he called the code enforcers on himself. It's just he keeps. Will somebody please just tell him? Oof. Lord have mercy, Jesus. But I said all of that to say this. Everything that is happening, it is underlined because of jealousy. Jealousy. Jealousy, jealousy, jealousy. And that oldest brother, jealousy. He had the audacity to say, Leonard had the audacity to say, yeah, he gave us his portion so we could better manage the property. But the property is already being managed. Has been. Can't better manage the property by trying to force the tenants out, bullying the tenants, showing up at the house, trying to change the locks, putting on stuff on the doors. I got all the records. But anyways, everybody have family feuds. And this is how you deal with them. You let it play out. And you don't have to deal with them, but you let it play out. Because if what they were doing was so right, oh, we got siblings that need somewhere to stay. Listen, everybody are adults. And mama wouldn't want this. And didn't know, you don't even know what she would want. But you should have took up for her when Roy dogged her out to you, and you wouldn't say nothing. And then had the audacity to say, I ain't never heard nobody dog their mom out so bad. My question is, what were you saying when he was saying what he said? So, anyways, that's what I wanted to share. Everybody got family feuds, but you don't have to be in that feud. Let those people live, do what they do. You keep living your life, because what we do know is things are underlined with jealousy, insecurity, hate. I got the text. I said, why do you hate me so much? You make everything about you. It is at this point because you're fighting me. That's all it is. That's all it is. And then he got a lawyer, the same guy he said told the city, told them not to give him a permit to build that house. He said, it's the same person you got to represent him for something. Anyways, all right, y'all, listen, I got to go. And y'all have an amazing day. Please don't let anybody disrupt your peace. I love y'all. Share this video. Like, share, comment. Love you.